My mom chose her new husband over me. Now she wanted me back. When I was 17, my mom told me to pack my stuff and leave because her new husband didn't want another man in the house. I remember standing in our cramped hallway, the same hallway where family photos once hung before Ron moved in, staring at her face for any sign that she might change her mind. There wasn't any. Her eyes were red but resolute, her lips pressed into a thin line as she handed me a duffel bag. I kept waiting for her to break character, to tell me this was all Ron's idea and that she'd figure something out. But instead, she just said, "It's for everyone's peace, Jake." Everyone's peace except mine, apparently. Ron had moved in 8 months earlier, and from the beginning, there was this unspoken competition between us. He'd criticize how I loaded the dishwasher or comment on how much electricity I was using with my laptop. Small things at first. Then he started inventorying the food in the fridge, accusing me of eating his specific groceries. My room, which had always been my sanctuary, suddenly became subject to inspections for cleanliness. Mom would smile nervously during these interactions, placing her hand on Ron's arm as if to ground him, but never actually stopping him. I tried to stay out of the house as much as possible, picking up extra shifts at the supermarket where I worked part-time, but home was still home. Or at least it was supposed to be. The night everything fell apart, I came home from work to find Ron in the kitchen, holding my acceptance letter to community college. I'd been hiding it because I wasn't sure how to tell Mom I couldn't afford the state school she wanted me to attend. Ron waved the paper in my face, asking if I was planning to leech off them through college too. I reached for the letter, and he stepped back, putting his arm out like I was threatening him. "Look at him, Diana," he shouted to my mom. "You see how he's trying to intimidate me in my own house?" The absurdity of it made me laugh, which only made things worse. By the time Mom came into the kitchen, Ron was claiming I tried to hit him, and she believed him, or at least she acted like she did. The next morning, she told me I needed to leave. I had 72 hours to figure it out. No discussion, no appeal process. Just pack and go. I crashed on my friend Tyler's couch for 2 weeks before his parents started dropping hints about overstaying. After that, it was Jason's basement for a few days, then the back seat of my '98 Civic for longer than I care to admit. I kept working at the supermarket, using the employee bathroom to wash up before shifts, storing extra clothes in my locker. One of the assistant managers, Dave, eventually figured out my situation and let me crash in the break room some nights after closing. "Just don't make a mess, and be out before the morning crew arrives," he'd say, tossing me an extra sandwich from the deli section that would otherwise be thrown out. During those first few months, I kept expecting Mom to call, to check if I was okay, maybe offer some money or at least an explanation. The call never came. I'd see her posts on Facebook, photos of her and Ron at restaurants, on weekend trips, posing in their newly renovated living room. My old bedroom had been converted into Ron's home office within weeks. It was like I'd been completely erased. Eventually, I saved enough for the security deposit on a studio apartment, the kind of place where the shower is practically on top of the toilet, and you can touch both walls if you stretch out your arms. But it was mine. I enrolled in night classes at the community college, got my HVAC certification, and landed a job with a local contractor. The work was physically demanding but paid well enough. I learned how heating and cooling systems functioned, how to identify failures before they happened, how to fix things that seemed beyond repair. There was something satisfying about bringing dead systems back to life, about understanding the invisible currents that keep a home comfortable. Years passed this way. I moved to a slightly better apartment, got promoted to lead technician, started putting away savings, made friends with coworkers who'd invite me over for holidays when they realized I had nowhere else to go. I dated occasionally, though nothing serious ever took hold. Something always held me back from letting people too close. Trust doesn't come easily when the person who's supposed to love you unconditionally proves that their love actually has very specific conditions. I check Mom's Facebook maybe once or twice a year, usually late at night when I couldn't sleep. The photos showed a life that seemed perfect from the outside. Vacations I couldn't afford, a house renovation I wasn't invited to see, holiday gatherings where everyone was smiling. No acknowledgement that she'd once had a son. No signs of regret. Each time, I'd closed the browser feeling hollow, promising myself I wouldn't look again. But I always did, eventually. Then, almost 8 years to the day after I'd packed my duffel bag, a message appeared in my Facebook inbox. "Hey, I miss you. Can we talk?" That was it. No explanation, no real apology. Just 6 words that landed like a bomb in the carefully constructed piece of my life. I read it 5 times before deleting it without responding. Who misses someone for 8 years without reaching out? What kind of mother waits that long to check if her son is even alive? 3 days later, another message arrived. Longer this time, more desperate. "Jake, please. I'm really sorry. A lot has happened, and I need to see you. I know I don't deserve it, but please give me a chance to explain." I sat with my finger hovering over the delete button for a long time. Part of me, the part that still remembered what it felt like to have a mother, wanted to respond immediately. Another part, the part that remembered sleeping in my car in December, wanted to block her entirely. Instead, I closed my laptop and went for a drive. The same kind of aimless driving I used to do when I first got kicked out, when the Civic was both transportation and shelter. I ended up parked outside our old house, staring at the windows, at the new paint job, at the unfamiliar car in the driveway. I wondered if Ron was inside, if they were happy, if they ever talked about me. After an hour, I drove home and typed 2 words in response. "Why now?" Her reply came quickly. "Can we meet? Coffee, maybe?" I agreed, suggesting a cafe downtown, neutral territory far from either of our homes. I told myself I was just curious, that I wanted closure, that seeing her couldn't possibly hurt me anymore. I was wrong about that last part. The woman sitting across from me at Westside Coffee looked both familiar and foreign. Her hair was shorter, grayer at the temples. Her hands, clutching a mug of tea, had new age spots and wrinkles. But her eyes, they were exactly as I remembered, and they were red-rimmed and anxious as they darted between my face and the table. For the first 15 minutes, we engaged in the most painfully superficial small talk imaginable. Yes, I was working in HVAC. Yes, I had my own apartment. No, I wasn't married. Yes, the weather had been unusually warm. Then, without warning, she started to cry. Not the silent, dignified tears of our last encounter in the hallway, but messy, hiccuping sobs that drew glances from other patrons. "I'm so sorry, Jake," she managed between breaths. "I'm so sorry." As her story tumbled out, I felt an odd detachment, like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. Ron had left her 6 months ago for his administrative assistant, a woman 15 years younger. Before leaving, he'd emptied their joint savings account and maxed out 2 credit cards. He'd been emotionally abusive for years, she said, controlling and manipulative in ways she'd only recognized after he was gone. She was alone now, struggling to make mortgage payments on a single income, facing the possibility of losing the house. "I know I can never make up for what I did to you," she said, her voice steadier now. "I let him convince me you were the problem when he was the problem all along. I failed you as a mother, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. I should have felt vindicated." Here was the confession I'd imagined countless times during those first difficult years. But instead, I felt nothing but a dull ache as I realized what was really happening. She wasn't just apologizing. She was building a bridge back to me because she needed something. The timing was too convenient, her desperation too raw. "Are you having money problems?" I asked directly. Her hesitation confirmed my suspicion before she spoke. "The bank sent a foreclosure notice last week," she admitted. "I've been picking up extra shifts at the hospital, but with the legal fees from the divorce and the debt he left." She trailed off, then looked up with an expression I recognized from childhood. The look she'd give when asking my father for help with bills. "I was wondering if maybe I could stay with you, just until I get back on my feet. Or if you wanted to move back home, we could split the mortgage. Like old times." Old times. As if the old times included her choosing her husband over her child. As if the old times were something worth returning to. I felt a sudden clarity, sharp and cold as winter air. This woman across from me wasn't just my mother. She was someone who had made a choice once and was making another choice now. The difference was that this time, I had the power to choose too. Mom, I said, the word feeling strange in my mouth after so many years of not saying it aloud. I appreciate that you're sorry. I believe that you regret what happened. But you have no idea what I went through after you kicked me out. Her face crumpled. I know it must have been hard. No, you don't know, I interrupted gently. You don't know because you never asked. You never called to see if I was okay. I slept in my car for 3 months. I showered at the gym when I could afford a day pass. I ate expired sandwiches from the supermarket because my manager felt sorry for me. Did you ever wonder where I went when you told me to leave? Did you ever worry if I had enough to eat? Or if I was safe? She was crying again, but I continued. I had to figure everything out on my own. How to get a loan without a cosigner. How to file taxes. How to negotiate with landlords. How to be an adult when I was still a kid. And I did it. I built a life for myself, a good life. It's not perfect, but it's mine and it's peaceful. I was scared, she whispered. Ron made me feel like I would lose everything if I didn't do what he wanted. I know that's not an excuse. You're right. It's not. I took a sip of my now cold coffee. But here's the thing. I understand fear. I lived with it every day after you kicked me out. The difference is, I didn't let it make me abandon someone who needed me. We sat in silence for a long moment. Around us, the cafe bustled with afternoon customers. Students with laptops, office workers on coffee breaks, lives continuing as normal while this quiet earthquake shook between us. What can I do? She finally asked. How can I make this right? I considered the question carefully. The truth was, there was no making it right. Some broken things stay broken, even if you understand exactly how they fell apart. I don't think you can, I said honestly. But that doesn't mean we can't move forward somehow. Just not the way you're hoping. Her eyes flickered with hope, then disappointment. You won't help me? I didn't say that. I'll help you look into financial assistance programs. I can review your budget, maybe help you find a more affordable place. But I can't rescue you, and I can't pretend the last 8 years didn't happen. And living together? Even temporarily? I shook my head. No, that's not possible. Because you can't forgive me? There was an edge to her voice now. A hint of the manipulation I remembered from my childhood. The subtle shifting of blame. Because I need to protect the peace I fought for, I replied. You were my mom. I needed you, and you picked him. That changed everything. Not just our past, but our future too. As we prepared to leave, she asked if we could meet again sometime. I said maybe, and I meant it. The door wasn't fully closed, but it wasn't wide open either. It was cracked just enough to allow for the possibility of something new. Not a restoration of what was lost, but perhaps the careful construction of something different. Something with boundaries and expectations. Something that recognized we were both different people now. Walking back to my car, I felt lighter somehow. There was sadness, yes, but also a quiet pride. In that cafe, I had broken a pattern that had defined my family for generations. The pattern of sacrificing yourself to please others. I had chosen myself the way she had once chosen someone else. And in doing so, I had finally become fully adult, fully autonomous, fully free. I drove home to my small but comfortable apartment, to the life I had built brick by brick from the ruins of abandonment. Tonight, like every night, I would sleep in a space that was safe and wholly mine. No one could tell me to leave. No one could make me feel unwelcome. The peace I had fought for was worth protecting, even from the person I once would have given anything to please, especially from her.